I want to introduce David Patrick. He's a subject matter expert at DSA, working in the SharePoint space. He's an adjunct professor for not one, not two, but three colleges, teaching a variety of IT courses. He's also a volunteer with FCA Baltimore, and he's their new VP of Education. He volunteers with TechGirlz, which is a thing that I'm near and dear my heart. He's helped my daughter get involved in that organization. And then last but not least, he's a Microsoft certified trainer, and he's a speaker at a number of Microsoft focused events. And that's really kind of how David and I ran into each other to begin with. So David, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So for those who haven't had a chance to get to know you, talk a bit about where you're from, who you are, and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, so I'm a hometown guy. I actually haven't moved far from there. I'm up in Harford County now, but just been in. They call Baltimore Smaltimore, so there's a lot of us IT folks that always constantly bump into each other. You mentioned some of the conference that I speak at. We used to do a lot of SharePoint Saturday conferences, and now there's a lot of online ones. But we sort of all know each other. So I've worked at a lot of the sort of the regular companies that a lot of us have worked at. Some of the big ones like the old USMG Insurance, and the last 10 years I've been working at data systems analyst over at APG, Aberdeen Proving Ground, and just doing a lot of work with the government, a lot of work in the SharePoint space, Office 365 space, both doing administration, development, and training. So it's been a long, fun ride in the IT world, specifically the Microsoft. I've been focusing on Microsoft most of these 30 years, but it's still exciting. I mean, Microsoft Ignite's going on right now, and they've just announced a bunch of new features for Teams, and I'm like, okay, let me let's roll up the sleeves and figure all this out, and how can we make the best use of it?
So, what got you into this space to begin with? What's your background in that respect? What made you go, IT is a career I want to be in?
Yeah, wow. I have to go back to summer camp when I was one of 6 kids, and my mom's goal was to get us out of her hair. And so she would send us all to various summer camps. She happened to send me to one at Loyola College, back when it was called Loyola College, now it's Loyola University. And I took Intro to Pascal on a PDP 1170. So it was, one of those old mid-frame, like not quite a mainframe, but a mid-range frame, and actually had a teletype with a printer attached for the old school folks, where you would type the commands and would print them all out. I loved it. I was hooked. I was like 11 years old. I was like, this is awesome. She sent me back the following year for basic, and I was like, this is even better. So yeah, once I did that, I did the old. A lot of us folks from that era, we'd go get either a Commodore 64 or a TRS-80 or Atari 800 or one of those, and rip them apart. I mean, my Radio Shack computer, I spilled lemonade on it. I literally had spent a couple $100 repairing. I could have bought another one, but instead I decided I'm going to rip it apart and clean it up and get the soldering iron out. I loved all that. So I from an early age, I just got hooked on computers and the power that you had to, make them write your own games. One of the first games I wrote was a horse racing game where 6 little, pixelated horses ran across the screen, and randomly one would be chosen to win. So even I wouldn't know who the winner would be. And I uploaded that to a bulletin board system. Back in the day, before the internet, we had bulletin board systems where you use your phone and a modem to share your programs. And I had friends from across the country that were playing my game, and hey, Dave, can you make it change so it does this or change? And it was so exciting. I mean, talking about, I had friends from, nowadays people take it for granted. You go on Facebook or whatever, and you have friends from across the world. But back then, for a kid from Baltimore, I have a friend in San Francisco that I never met, but we're, sharing ideas on how to write programs. I mean, how you can't get more exciting than that.
That is pretty awesome. So what brought you into the teaching at the college space? What kind of, what was your thought process of like, hey, I want to give back by teaching?
That was interesting. That when I worked at the insurance company, USF&G Insurance, I was writing applications, and as what happens sometimes, hey, there's this new application, you wrote it, now people need to be taught how to use it. Oh, who better to teach it than the guy who wrote it? So they started making me teach these classes, and I found out I loved it. I really like, not only showing people, hey, here's how I think here's how the program is supposed to be used, but getting that feedback like, oh, but Dave, we think it should be this other way. And I would go, oh, wow, this is I'm actually learning from you guys about how to better write this program, because I wrote it one way, but when you want to use it a different way. So what I took away from that was that by teaching them about something, and not just about my programs, I started teaching about other things, just how to use like Excel and things like that. And they would ask questions that had me go and figure things out that I didn't, I thought I knew this, but no, I don't know it as well as I thought I did. So the long story short is teaching was the best way for me to learn. I learned so much by teaching. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm going to start teaching things. If I want to know more about JavaScript, I'm going to go teach Intro to JavaScript. I want to know more about object-oriented programming, I'm going to go teach a class on object-oriented programming. And that's still proven true today. So now when I teach at any of the various colleges, every semester, they'll say, hey, we've got these classes. Does anyone want to teach one? And I'll be, oh, yeah, Intro to Cloud Computing. Sign me up, because I want to learn more about Intro to Cloud Computing. Yeah, I always tell people, if you want to learn something, teach it.
That's interesting. So there's the same thing. Is that true also for the volunteering you do with TechGirlz?
That was a little different. So with TechGirlz, we had I had been doing some community work for like user groups, for professionals, fellow professionals. Some of my students would go out. I'd get them to kind of mingle with the professionals, encourage networking. But we hadn't done anything for the younger kids. So we had. I've been doing user groups since 2000. So when .NET first came out, I started a .NET user group, and I'm still running 3 different user groups today. But nothing for the kids. So somewhere around 2016, really it was around 2015, it took us a year to get off the ground. We said we should do something that helps, the younger crowd to be interested in computers and excited about computers. And we came across it. We saw that Microsoft was doing something called TechGirlz, where they reached out to young women because there was this gender gap that needed to be addressed. There wasn't enough women in STEM. And we thought, well, we could do that too. Shoot, my company's CEO is Fran Pierce, so she's a woman, and she was excited about helping younger women. My VP, Kathleen Kirk's a woman. She was like, so I had all this, top level support. So we went out, we partnered with TechGirlz, and we started delivering these free workshops to the Harford County Boys and Girls Clubs members. And we helped. We did things like taking apart a computer, which was pretty exciting. The girls loved ripping open a computer and seeing what the hard drive does and where the memory chips really are. We did intro to coding. And just like when I started teaching, I was surprised that I learned more by teaching. By delivering these workshops to the young women, I was surprised at how I thought I was going to inspire them to be excited about STEM. They inspired me. They got me excited. I was end of a long day. I'm going to go teach TechGirlz, and then they're all excited about opening up a computer. I'm like, man, this is cool. You're right, So they kind of refound my youthful energy of open, through their eyes, back when I was at that summer camp. So I love it. We still do it. We're still doing them virtually. It's still, just as exciting, because even over, we use like Teams to conduct the workshops, but you still get the girls who are like, thank you, oh my gosh, this is exciting. Or I love when at the end of our workshops, we always let them present whatever they've done. If they're building a website, they present their website, or if they're building a game, they present their game. I love how excited they are about it. And this way, it's a 2-player, and this one, there's a lake you got to cross. And I'm like, wow, that's super cool that you're super jazzed about it. So yeah, the TechGirlz thing has just been, win-win for everybody. I can't imagine. I can't believe we waited so long to do it.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So through your career, what's something you've seen that we should consider, in our field, we should change? So something you may have witnessed in the way we do something, or the way we interact with people. What's something in your experience, though, that we might want to reconsider?
Definitely the interview process. I've seen so many people that I've been through so many interview processes. In fact, I was just talking to one of my classes the other night, and I said, when you sit down for an interview with a company, remember, it's a 2-way interview. You're interviewing them, they're interviewing you. It's like a date, So don't let them push you around. Don't let them. I've got up and walked out of interviews midway through. If I feel like it's going, I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to waste any more of your time. This is obviously not a fit. The culture here is not something I'm looking for, so no hard feelings, but I'm going to go. And I tell them, don't be afraid to do that. If you get, and not to be stereotypical, but one of those ponytail wearing guys that are up there that are just trying to trip you up with these whiteboard interviews, and did you memorize this particular option and all? come on, no, if I'm at work, no one's telling me to memorize stuff. I've got Google handy. I'm ready to, I've got plenty of books. And so, I prefer, one of the best interviews I had was with Johns Hopkins University. They set me in a room, bunch of reference books on the shelf, internet access, and said, Dave, here's one of our websites, and we need, we need to show a list of students on the page. Can you make modifications? And absolutely, you take an hour, however you need, and I did it. And afterwards, we talked about what I did, ways I could have done it differently, how much time I had, and I got the job. And it was I was like, that's the way an interview should be. Here's a problem. How would you solve it? I'm not a fan of whiteboard interviews. I think those are so stressful. And I've talked to several of my students that are just, what happens is they'll leave the field. That's their first entry. They're trying to get their first job, and they have one of these heinous interviews that just turns them off completely. Like, you know what? I actually decided to go cut lawns is really what I'm about. I'm going to go cut lawns now. I'm like, wait, don't let that throw you. So I wish we could change that. I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to encourage my students to be an agent of change by going to the interviews and saying, look, this, you want me, you need me as bad as I need you. Let's figure this out.
That's a good idea. That is a really good idea. And I hope, I agree with you. I hope that change can be made. And you may be right. Maybe changing it from the interviewee side may be the most successful way to say that, to make that change. And the companies will start to get the idea that, hey, it's got to be a two-way street.
Right. I mean, if they stop showing up, I mean, we're starting to feel a bit of a pinch now,
Yeah.
People, so, let's take advantage of it.
Absolutely. So what's next for you? You're teaching at a lot of places, whether it's volunteering or whether it's at the colleges. You're of course doing the work on a day-to-day basis. Is there anything else planned in your near future?
Gosh, that's a good question. I mean, like you said, I've got a bunch of balls in the air. I try to keep busy. I don't like to sit idle. So who knows? There's I always like picking up new courses. So there's a course next fall at UMD called metadata, and it's all about metadata. And it's one of those situations where I thought I know metadata, I know the technical aspect of it, but now we're gonna look at it from the librarian standpoint, because it's a librarians focused course. So I'm learning all about some of their standards and how they apply it, and so that's kind of exciting. And that's generally what I do when I'm the IT field's so wide. It's very easy to just kind of I've been dabbling with data science. I've been looking at all the different collaboration tools. Microsoft's been talking all about the new ways of collaborating and all the improvements in Teams to make collaboration better, developing apps in the cloud for Teams and things like that. So it's not hard. It's not difficult to say, okay, well, let me spend some time over in this area and try to get better at that. And see, the challenge really is, the tech is, I hate to say easy, but the tech is fun and it's easy to get lost in the tech. But then how do I apply it? How do I find my users and what really makes sense for them? What's going to work for them? That's the challenge. Is here's some new toy, but is it really usable or maybe not? Or maybe you use it a different way. So that's what that's what keeps me up at night. Is how can I use this the best way possible and make my users more productive?
And those will be future talks at future events, right? As
Exactly,
you become
right.
successful in those, look forward to that. So David, thanks for coming on the podcast. This was a fantastic conversation. It's always great to interact with you again. And I look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it.